And welcome back. Or just welcome if you're new here. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And welcome to day 6 of Slasher Week on my channel, where I chose 7 of my favorite little slashers to go through. There will be many more. And yes, welcome to Camp Arawak, where we are going to talk about Sleepaway Camp. Like it's a surprise, it's in the title. The Blu-ray DVD, collector's edition, I guess. Scream Factory. Sleepaway Camp. I don't know. I kind of... It has a reversible cover. It's got the original poster on the other side. I don't know. I kind of think I like the original poster. How do you feel about it? So Sleepaway Camp is one of my favorite slashers of all times, obviously. Or I wouldn't be spotlighting it. Now, Sleepaway Camp was released in 1983, and it was directed by Robert Hiltzik, written by Robert Hiltzik, and it stars Christopher Collet, Felissa Rose, Jonathan Tiersten, and Karen Fields. So yes, the movie opens on or at Camp Arawak. Isn't it? Yeah. Or maybe not. Was that where they at when he got killed? Wow, I'm not quite sure about that. I'll have to research that. Anyway, so we see a father playing on his boat with his 2 kids. They're twins, a boy and a girl. And they're playing on the lake, and what we later figure out, his boyfriend is up there on the shore, and he is out there on the boat when the kids start playing around and flip the boat over, thinking it's funny. Now, we have a camp counselor out there with another girl on the boat who is begging him to let her drive. No, that's against the rules. But, as usual, he gives in, he lets her drive, and there's a girl skiing, water skiing. So, of course, it all goes tits up, and loses control of the boat. He tries to get it away from her, revs it into full gear, and they end up running over the guy and both the kids. So that was pretty awful. So they crash into them, and it kills the father and one of the kids. Now, 8 years later, supposedly, the son and the father were killed. 8 years later, we are introduced to Crazy Aunt Martha, who is probably one of the most iconic horror characters. That bitch is whacked, you know what I mean? A special kind of whacked. And it wouldn't be the movie without her, even though, just her few scenes. But, wow, what an impression that character is, right? So we're introduced to Angela and her cousin, Ricky, which is that woman's, Aunt Martha's son. So she's sending them away to the camp, and the one thing that makes a lot of sense later is that you get a little hint when she claims to be a doctor, and she has these fake physicals because you can't go to camp without a physical, and so she presents them, give these to the people in charge, because you can't go to camp without a physical. So we are introduced to some of the characters. We're introduced to Perv, Artie, the cook, Judy, Paul, Meg, Mike, Ronnie, Kenny, Mozart, Angela. Angela is quiet. Angela's very quiet when she's there, withdrawn. It isn't long before we get the first kill, and that is Artie is a real perv. I mean, I can't even repeat some of the stuff that he says as the kids were all arriving was like just disgustingly gross. I mean, he is like a really gross character. I mean, they're gross anyway, but he's a special kind of gross. So, he makes a play for Angela because she hasn't eaten in a couple of days. She won't eat, stuff like that. So he gets her alone in the kitchen and then takes her into the refrigerator where he makes a play for her. Ricky catches them, gets thrown around, and it's soon after that we get the boiling pot of soup. And I don't think I've ever seen, I guess maybe in the military or places like this, they have pots that big. Prison. They might have pots like that in prison, right? And if you're feeding 150 people, I guess you need a really big pot to make soup. But it's probably about 4 feet tall, and and it's up here, and he stands up on a chair, and you see these hands reach out and pull the chair out from under him. The pot falls on him, and he is like boiled with like blisters going up and down. It's very grotesque. So he gets boiled by that. Now Mel, he only cares about the reputation of the camp, and so he tries to like shut it up. Don't tell anybody. It was just an accident. And it could have very well been an accident. I mean, if that had been in the one and only kill, like in real life, that would have gotten labeled an accident because he was standing on a chair. So, Mel's not quite an asshole yet about this kind of thing. So, then we get Mozart gets the sit-up prank. That makes me laugh to this very day. And that is where, all the boys are standing around and Ricky is like doing some kind of kung fu chi meditation on him about gathering his strength to, he's got a towel over his eyes, and, he's giving this long little speech about mind over matter and stuff like that. And another one of the boys like sticks his butt up and makes Artie sit up and smash his face. So it's like a butt in the face prank. That makes me laugh my ass off, no pun intended, to this very day. That's a hilarious scene. So I put the 80s clothes are awesome, and they are. This movie, I love the clothes in this movie. They're just fantastic. So we're in the canteen, and a couple of the guys, like, they're harassing Angela. Yo, Angela, why are you such a freak? And stuff like that. It causes a fight between Ricky because he's always like taking up for her, which is why you sort of suspect Ricky throughout this whole movie of being the killer, because he is so like out of control, protective of her. So Paul tries talking to Angie, tells her he knows her dad and brother were killed, and that he feels sorry for her, and she seems to actually like him, probably because of the way he is talking to her, so she actually likes to him, and this is the first time we hear her speak, is after he talks to her and starts to walk away and says goodnight. She actually says goodnight, and I'm pretty sure that is the very first time, and it's probably 30 minutes into the movie, 25, maybe 25, 30 minutes in the movie, is actually the first time that we hear that character utter a single word, so obviously she likes him. She speaks for the first time when she says goodnight. We then have all of the guys who are trying to convince the girls to go skinny dipping. The girls actually like prank them by saying, "We will, but you first." And so we have the skinny dip scene where all the guys jump into the lake and then the girls walk off and refuse. So it's like, haha on you. And I actually would like to thank each and every one of them for doing that prank. Because that scene is now just for me. Freeze frame. Frame step. Frame step. Oh yeah, that right there. Now, oh please, did you just say something ugly? Let me tell you something. All you people out there, if you even dare try to tell me that you do not use the freeze frame and the frame step and the pause button on your DVD players and Blu-ray players during movies like this, you are the worst kind of liar. And the worst kind of liar is a liar that is obvious, because that's a lie, and you know it. Now, we may not freeze frame and frame step on the same scenes, that is true, but you still do it, and you know it. Don't lie. Lying's not nice. Also makes you a hypocrite. Now, carrying on, we have the Kenny dip. Kenny dip? The skinny dip. Was Kenny in the skinny dip? I don't know. We have Kenny and Mike who are like really... No, they weren't, because they were stoned. They did not take part in the skinny dip. So they're stoned, and Mike gets Leslie to go on a midnight canoe trip with him. And he gets out there, and he's such an asshole because he actually flips the boat, and she gets pissed off and leaves. And then we get to see Billy is our second victim. So we get to see Mike killed, and the next morning, the maintenance guy, I don't know what well, he's just one of the counselors. He didn't really have enough of a part, I guess, to like really know his name, but I don't remember his name. But he finds him when he finds the overturned boat, and he turns it over, and like there's Kenny's body, and the snake comes out of his mouth and all. That was very effective. That was a very, very effective scene. So, once again, Mel, now he's really becoming an asshole because this is the second death. And he's like, shh, keep it quiet. Don't say anything. Don't let it get out. And he's getting more and more irate about the situation, So, Angela and Paul, we see them talking again. They're getting closer. It's kind of cute, she's actually responding to him. He seems to like her. But bitch, Judy is a complete bitch. And Judy don't like it. And it's not because she gives a shit about Paul, because Ricky was the one she dated last summer. So it's not that she cares about Paul. She just hates Angela. Like, really hates Angela. But then again, I can't there's people that I hate on sight too. There's love at first sight. There's hate at first sight too. Of course, I have my own reasons, but there's people that I've ran into that I'm like, hi, how are you doing? I absolutely hate your fucking guts. I don't know you. This is the first time that we've spoke. But I just hate you. It's just this thing that goes, that's a motherfucker to hate right there. So, but I guess Judy felt that way about Angela because she really hated Angela. So it's not that she gave a shit about Paul. She just wanted to mess up and mess with Angela. So, she's always making fun of them and, stuff like that. Now, after the movie night, Paul gives her a little peck on the mouth, and then another one, gives her a little goodnight kiss, Angela. So, I guess Angela's kind of loosening up now. She really likes Paul. Paul really likes her. So, Judy whines about Paul and Angela the next day, talking shit about them again, carrying on. Meg is bullying her again. Judy accuses her of being gay, accuses her being prepubescent as the reason, just bullying her for not taking showers with everyone else, not taking showers at the same time as the other girls. So, and they really don't care. Bullies really don't care how valid the issue is that they're bullying you about. Because if it wasn't that, they would just find something else. That's the whole point of being a bully. So, the other guys had been, all these people have been bullying her the whole time. We get to see Bill, who had hit Angela with a water balloon. He goes in to take a dump, where he is then locked in the stall by putting looked like a broom handle or something through the stall handles. So he's locked in there, and a beehive, a full beehive, is dropped in there on him. That is an ugly, ugly scene afterwards. You don't get to see them kill him, but you get to see what's left of him on the floor after they've killed him. And that's a pretty intense little scene. So, Mel, of course, now is completely enraged because, he's got campers that are, dropping like flies, right? And people are, leaving. And this is the first time that we get to hear him actually blame Ricky. He starts, because he has, everybody has witnessed him starting fights, cussing people out, about messing with Angela. So he legitimately has a reason to think it's Ricky. Most people would, including the audience, I believe, are thinking that it's Ricky. So, Paul and Angela go to the lake and they play around, and then they actually do a more adult style kiss, and he tries to unbutton her shirt, and she pushes him away, and she runs off, and that's when we get to see a flashback which more fills out the story about her dad, because him kissing her that way reminded her of her and her brother standing at the door of their dad's bedroom watching him make out with his boyfriend. So that kind of closed that circle about who her dad was. And I guess it caused her to flashback because of the way he was kissing her. So she took off, and she remembers her dad. She remembers herself and her brother watching her dad make out. She runs off. The next day, they're playing Capture the Flag because so many people have left that there's not a lot of activity for people to do anymore. And let's not forget, I do want to bring special attention to the softball scene. People go on about it, how it's so long and stuff like that. The softball scene is one of my favorite scenes in a horror movie. I mean, those clothes, the way they're dressed, the banter. I just love that scene because a lot of people have an issue with the softball scene in Sleepaway Camp. They think it's too long or whatever. And I'm like, no, man. Just soak up that atmosphere. Soak up those clothes, right? I mean, come on. People should dress that way again, in my opinion. It beats a hell of a lot the fashion fads that are going on right now. Skinhead just got out of prison with a fucking Skid Row bum dog's ass beard, and you think that the 80s clothes and haircuts and the softball scene is funny? No. You have issues if you think that. But so they're playing Capture the Flag, and Rick and Angela come up with this plan to we'll go through the woods, and you come out one side and I'll come out the other, and we'll win this match. But unfortunately, Judy had gotten Paul to follow her out there in the woods. And just to get even, or just to get, not even, because Angela didn't do nothing to her. just to fuck with Angela. She's got Paul out there and kissing him, and Angela walks up on it. And Ricky walks up on it about the same time as well. So this causes her to be very, very upset. And once she done that, she was through with Paul. She didn't have nothing else to do with him. He didn't have nothing else to do with her either, because he knew immediately what she had done. So Judy rubs it in her face, the next day, claims that Paul said bad stuff about her, called her a prude and stuff. Her and Meg then pick her up and throw her in the water, which causes, I think that's when she, completely snapped. It's not like the girl had enough issues already. So I think that's when she completely snapped. And it traumatized her from being in the water. Now, this is when, and the producer said that this upcoming scene was the only part of the movie that he kind of felt icky about. It's his baby, he loves it, but this one scene he thinks he went too far. Considering the shit out there today, have you ever seen a Serbian film? Have you ever seen Human Centipede and disgusting shit like that? I beg to differ with him that this upcoming scene was going too far. But I accept that he personally feels a little icky about it. But that's when Eddie takes, 6 or 5 of the younger kids out on the little camping thing. So he takes them out to camp in the woods, and 2 of them want to come home. So he's like, okay, so he takes them to the car, and then when he comes back to get the 3 that were asleep, they have been butchered. I mean, it looked like that scene from Prophecy where the big mutant bear threw that poor kid up against the rock face in the sleeping bag, because they were all hacked up like Hatchet had been in there. You know what I mean? So we then see Meg taking a shower. We get the Meg kill scene, which is really cool, where she is stabbed through the wall of the shower and just ripped down. And that had to be difficult. I mean, I know it's only thin aluminum, but you'd still have to have some strength to pull that blade down that aluminum. And her body afterwards was pretty gross because, of course, it was in the shower. So all the blood had been washed away. So you get this full, what it would look like without blood. And I thought that was pretty neat, to see a victim that instead of being bloody and gore, instead it was just oh my God, that's what she was cut from the back of her neck to the top of her ass. You know what I mean? Right straight down the spine. That had to hurt. At least sting a little bit. But, so she gets, and of course during this scene was the Eddie and the little kids, so they're flashing back and forth as we get to see them. So now Meg earlier at the social had actually, why she would want to do this, I don't know, but to each his own. But she had actually made a date with Mel, this old guy. And she's a young counselor, and like I said, Anna Nicole, you want to marry an 89-year-old? It's fine with me. Whatever. Sure business. I don't have to sleep with them, so it's okay. So, he, of course, comes looking for her. And Judy is she took a shower next door. So he goes in there, and that's when we get to see Meg's body. And while he flips out about that, oh, I know it was you, Ricky, and I should have stopped you, and I'm going to get you now. So that's when we get to see. Okay, I thought I was missing a page there. But that's when we get to see her body, and he takes off to find Ricky. That's when Judy gets her comeuppance when she gets murdered by, and that's the scene, like, when it opens up the door, you can tell that is Ricky standing in the door, but yet it's got, long hair. So it's confusing, but it was even more of a bait and switch because it really looked like Ricky standing in that doorway. And then the killer comes in where they smother her after knocking her out for a second. Or, well, he didn't knock her out, but he definitely quieted her down a bit. And then he is smothering her with a pillow while he takes a hot, burning curling iron that she had just been using and rams it up her vajayjay. Right? So, I don't know. I'm not a girl. But I would assume that would hurt. So, Mel does end up managing to find Ricky, and he attacks him, beats the shit out of him, knocks him unconscious. Now, Eddie had come back and told the counselors about the hacked up kids. So things have gotten really serious, and Mustache Man, the police officer, famous for that mustache, comes back, only this time it was Groucho marked. Because in the special features, the documentary interviews, which is wonderful, the producer said that the guy had gotten, when he came back to film those night scenes, he had gotten another job and had shaved off the mustache, and they did a pretty bad job of putting a fake mustache on him. So people, that's one of the little funny things in the movie. So Ricky's knocked out. He starts to take off and walks in front of a archery vis-a-vis Friday the 13th Part 3 and gets shot through the neck in a really cool effect. And they tell you how they do that effect in the documentary. Gets the arrow through the neck, and so Mel's gone. Now, Paul had talked to Angela earlier, and she had told him to meet her down by the water's edge, by the beach. So Paul is down there waiting at the beach, and Angela shows up and tells him that she wants to go skinny dipping. She wants to go swimming, and he's like, but we don't, what about our clothes? And she says, take them off. So it's like you started hearing Diana Ross singing, I'm coming out, I want the world to know. Got to let it show. So all the cops start finding all the bodies, right? Because they're looking for Mel, they're looking for Judy, they're looking for Meg. So the cops have arrived, they're doing that. Now I can't ever remember his name, the black-haired guy. Is it Kenny or... No, not Kenny. Lenny. I think it's Lenny, yeah. But Lenny and the other female counselor, they are looking for Paul and Angela, which are the only two that are left, that they don't know where they're at. And they start hearing... he's like, wait a second, do you hear singing, And as they get down closer to the water, we see Angela from the back. And she's cradling Paul's head and singing him a lullaby type thing. But as they get closer, and it's like, Angela, are you okay? And stuff like that. She suddenly stands up and Paul's decapitated head falls on the ground, and she turns around, and we get one of the most iconic scenes that's never been reproduced in a horror movie. Nobody saw that shit coming, because there's Angela standing there completely naked with a penis and a complete guy's body, guy's chest, penis, the whole shebang. And they're left speechless. The audience was left speechless. And even I, when I analyzed this movie after seeing it so many times, even I am still like, they did that really good. Because when you know the ending of this movie, and you watch it through the eyes of knowing, you look for signs, and really the only one, and 2020 hindsight, would be that thing, with Aunt Martha, when she was like, remember to take these fake physicals with you, Now, when she jumped up, you got to see the flashback of Aunt Martha with Peter. It wasn't her brother that got killed. It was the girl that got killed. The little boy is the one that lived. And you get to see him with the bandages around his head from obviously the accident. No telling what kind of traumatic brain injury he had. And you get to see Aunt Martha doing that crazy crap, calling him Angela, saying she always wanted a girl. That's why her husband, but she didn't get one because her husband left. And how excited Ricky would be when he came back and had she had a daughter. So, wow. And that's when you saw the naked. The production story was pretty funny too, because they said, the guy who did that has never came out publicly, to my knowledge. At least when that documentary was filmed, and I've never heard about it, but, they talked about the college boy who did that. And they showed you how they created her mask. Because a lot of people think that they superimposed, like, her face on his body, but it wasn't. It was a mask. And they show you them making that mask. And they talk about the guy who did that, and they claim he's never came forward as being, as Felissa Rose said, that penis was the star of the movie. And he's never came out and claimed it. And they talked about how, the scene was filmed so that's a really cool thing about this, is that it does have absolutely, it's also got a little documentary on how these boutiques, or, well, any film company, it's got a documentary on how they're scanned and the scanning machines, and you get to actually see them doing the 2K scan from the original negative of this movie, and how they clean it up and stuff like that. So that was a really cool documentary. And then you got the interview with Ricky, Felissa Rose, the director, the producer, even Lenny, So you get to hear from a lot of the cast members. You get to see a lot of the production stories, the director talking about it. I don't really think he likes the second and third one, and to be honest with you, I don't really super care for the Sleepaway Camp sequels. They're all right. They're okay, but didn't hold to the story, He said he had ideas for a sequel, but they sort of abandoned, in the sequels, they sort of abandoned who Angela was. And I like what Felissa, I always want to call her Felicity, Felissa Rose, I like what she said about it, because, she was originally kind of going to do that, but even though she knew the director wanted the Springsteen girl, but she said that when she read the script and everything, that it was a different Angela, that they abandoned this one and really strayed from the storyline, and there was no, and it is true, there is no depth or underpinnings in the second and third one. And we won't even talk about the rest. I think there's 2 others that are just horrid. But like I said, I don't hate them. They're funny little slashers, but they are nothing like this. And I don't think the director, the writer, I don't think he cares for the sequels either. He said, all I've got to say about them is I just licensed out the name. So when a director says that and refuses to elaborate, when he goes, all I got to say is I just licensed out the name, I think he don't care for them. And like I said, I don't really care for them either. I mean, they're all right as little camp slashers, but they're okay. They're okay. This is a masterpiece. They're okay. And there is a lot of issues in this movie. What was she? Because she wasn't a she was a he. So what was he? And you get into issues that are touchy because you can't say anything. Is she a transgendered person? No, she's not. You can debate me if you want to. Angela was not a transgendered person. If she was a transgender, she would not have done what she did in this movie. Granted, the bullying, the trauma, probably the traumatic brain injury, all of that, she could have still had problems, but a transgendered person is happy when they're finally who they are. So Angela was fucked up because of what Martha did to her. Or him. Peter was fucked up because of what Martha did to him. And was not happy. You see, if transgender people are happy when they are who they are. That's the whole point of transitioning. But Angela is not a transgendered individual. She was fucked up by her aunt and forced to be a little girl, dressed like a girl. And that's partially why she was messed up in the head and a vicious serial killer. So, yeah. And that's my truth about it. So, there we go. I absolutely love this movie. Felissa Rose is fantastic as Angela. The cast, the story, that twist, which has never been... I mean, come on. I've seen lots of twists. I've seen lots of what the fuck moments. But nothing before, nor ever, has matched when Angela stood up and turned around. And there you have it. Nothing has ever matched the what the fuck of that. And I don't think that there will ever be. And the reason is because you did not see that coming. If you claim that you saw that coming, never seen this movie, never heard about it, didn't know anything about the ending, it's 1983, you're at the theater, or it's 1984 and you're renting the video and you don't know nothing about it, if you claim that you saw that coming, you are once again a liar, because nobody saw that coming. That's the facts. That's why it is such a cult classic like it is. But yes, 1983's Sleepaway Camp. Love it, love it, love it. It certainly has issues that people will talk about. Touches on things that a lot of slashers do not. It's got a lot of underlying themes. I mean, gosh, it was 1983. Aside from Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, I can't think of another one that had like positive gay presence. Sleepaway Camp did. Butcher Baker did. I don't know. I'd have to like really investigate if there's any others. I don't mean regular movies. I'm talking about horror movies. I don't know. I guess that would be something to like really investigate and see. Make a list. But in any event, it's got definite above the normal slasher content and thoughts as you leave the theater. As you leave the theater, going, the fuck was that I saw just then? Wow. I did not see that penis coming. You know what I mean? Ooh. Bad phrasing there. But in any way, I will see you in the next one where we'll finish up Slasher Week, where I will dissect and talk about another of mine. Always remember, never forget, you are a very, very special individual and unique individual. Maybe not quite as unique as Angela, but don't let anyone ever tell you any different. You rock. And I will see you in the next one. Love you. Miss you. Bye-bye. Tell me what you think about Sleepaway Camp and any issues you might have with it, or anything I said about it. Whatever. Opinions are like, yeah. Bye.